Today, we have an Australian and a world Ironman champion, a Molokai to Oahu paddleboard champion, multiple times New South Wales Ironman champ, and the list goes on and on. He is sponsored by True Protein, Speedo, Shaw and Partners Racing Club, and is a local at Manly Life-Saving Surf Club, and get massive support through them as well. You can find him on Instagram at kendrick.louis. He also has his newly started company called Louis Media, and you can find them on Instagram as well under the handle at Louis Media. Kendrick Louis, welcome on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
No worries. Did I cover most of it?
That was a great intro. Yep. Very good.
I've been trying to get better at it. My first question is, today's Friday, for any listeners or viewers out there, how many Ks have you swam this week?
Oh, this is probably not the right week to ask me because it's my off season at the moment. But yeah, in my off season, I've tried to get myself in the pool 3 times this week. And
is that a couple of Ks?
I've probably done 10 Ks all up.
So 10 Ks is an off season week.
Yeah, 10 Ks is an off season week. In season, it's probably anywhere from, you'd have to clear this with my coach, but anywhere from probably 25 to 30 Ks a week of just swimming.
Holy cow. And mostly in the pool, or do you mix it up with ocean and the pool?
Yeah, that's primarily the pool. So normally each morning, Monday to Friday, 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. is time in the pool with the squad. And
that's hectic.
Yeah,
that's
it is.
A lot of swimming.
And especially at my age, I'm 28 now, and I've been doing this professionally for the last 10 years. So, I've done a lot of Ks in the pool.
Yeah. Yeah, you have. You probably swim more in a week than I do in a whole season. Okay, I wanted to start with some basics around the sport that you're doing. As I mentioned in the intro, you're an Ironman champion. But I think the Ironman title of a sport can be a little bit confusing because there's different versions of it. Can you give us a little bit of an overview of what the Ironman sport looks like?
Yeah, there is a little bit of confusion when it comes to our sport. People normally get it confused with Ironman triathlon, where, nowadays, I guess if you rewound probably 20 years, there wouldn't be this confusion with the likes of, Grant Kenny and, Guy Leach, Trevor Hendy, those guys. They were pin-up guys in sport across Australia, where now the profile of our sport has dropped off a lot, and now people get it confused with triathlon. So for us, it's surf Ironman. People like to, know it by the name of Nutri-Grain Ironman, and that consists of surf, ski paddling, board paddling, swimming, and running. Yeah, all in the ocean.
Yes, and you always start with is it always that order?
No, so the orders vary. It's normally a random draw, so it could be board, swim, or surf ski first. Yeah.
Oh wow, a random draw.
Yeah.
Do they decide that on the day, or do you know in the lead up?
So normally the day. So
wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, which is kind of a cool concept. And I guess it makes the athletes, they have to be good at each leg.
Yeah.
You can't. You can have a strength, I guess, but at the same time, if, for example, if swim's first and your strength is board, you need to be up the front in the swim to be able to, use your strength down the track.
Yeah. Run me through the equipment that you need, the boards.
So the paddle boards, they're a 10'6", spec, surf life-saving spec paddle board.
So you're basically on your knee or are you prone? You're on
your
knee?
Knee or prone, either or, depending on what you wish. There are some guys that choose to just lay down on the board, just in that prone position, where I prefer to be up on my knees and just use that strength a bit more. The second component is surf ski, which is very similar to a kayak. They're 18 foot long.
Way harder, I think.
They're 18 feet long. They what do they weigh? Oh, I should know this. I don't even know.
They look pretty. They're light for their size, right?
Yeah, well, they are. They're. I think they actually. I don't even know. This is so bad of me.
That's okay.
I don't even know. But yeah, they're 18 feet long, carbon fiber built. You steer them obviously with 2 pedals at your feet, and you use a carbon fiber paddle to paddle as well. So and then swimming obviously is swimming.
Easy. And And when you say, is there running in it? Is soft sand running?
Yeah, so the soft sand running is just the transition.
Just short, yeah.
Yeah, so probably that could range. It all depends on the format, but that could range from, a 100-meter transition to potentially, like a Coolangatta Gold event, which is our marathon event, which could be, 3 to 7 Ks worth of running between.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, so that is a fair amount.
Yeah.
And I guess it depends on the beach as well and the tide and how much you're going to run.
Yeah, definitely. Tide is a massive thing. So, last year, the Australian titles was at Scarborough Beach. And if you know Scarborough on the WA at all, there's not an awful lot of beach there, especially when the tide's high. So the transition in that race was very short. That was probably 70 meters from, getting out of the swim then to jumping back into the board, where this year up on the Gold Coast at low tide, the tides go way out. So the transition was probably 200 meters. Yeah. So double and a half, I guess.
And roughly what are the distances for each leg?
So
I'm sure it's very different.
I guess the traditional format, the swim, you'd say 400 meters. The board paddle would be, 500 to 600, and the ski would be 700 to 800 meters.
Okay, and then a rough duration. How long does that take, just on average?
15 minutes.
15. Yeah. So it's kind of a sprint.
Depending on surf conditions.
Yeah. Would you call it a sprint? I mean, it's not a sprint at 15, but it's fast, right?
Yeah, you need to. If you don't have, it's almost sprint endurance almost. If you don't have that front end speed, makes it very tough to kind of come through the pack later on when the pack splits up. Yeah. But at the same time, it's very hard to take it out hard and kind of lead from the front and win. Yeah. Especially with luck involved with Mother Nature and
the ocean is unforgiving and normally difficult to predict.
You get more unlucky than you do lucky. So it's just one of those things. You try and put yourself in the best position possible, and if it pays off, great. If it doesn't, well, you got to reassess when that happens.
Yeah. Okay, let's jump back to your background a little bit. I believe I have heard a story that you had a bit of a rough run-in with some water in the pool when you were younger. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. When I was probably the age of 8, I think, probably from when I was a very young kid to the age of 7 or 8 years old, I was absolutely terrified with the water. We're at a and that came from we're at a friend's barbecue of my mum and dad's, and I was just cruising around the pool, fell in the pool. Obviously couldn't swim. I think I was only like 18 months old or 2 years old, and I was just straight to the bottom like a rock. Shit. And I actually had no idea what was going on, and I was looking straight to the surface. My hands were up, my eyes were open, my mouth was open, and my parents were like, "Where is he?" And then my older brother actually, he reached in. I was probably only on a step, with a pool, you step down, and because I was so small and I was so young, and my brother just, probably reached in and just grabbed me and pulled me out. Wow. My older brother, and so if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't be here today. Shit. And I think from that age, then, consciously, subconsciously, like I was petrified of the water. Yeah. We lived across the road from Bungan Beach up at Newport, and my dad would always take us over to the beach, take us surfing, or he'd go for a surf and we'd hang on the beach, and then afterwards he'd want to take us out for a couple of waves, and I'd be there with my shoes and socks, clothes on, not wanting an absolute bar of it whatsoever. Wow.
And your older brother went out?
Yeah, my older brother, younger brother, they were loving it. They were absolutely in love with the water, and for me, it just, I just hated it. Didn't want anything to do with it. Even getting in the bath, I hated that. It was a really strange feeling. And
so what changed? What's flipped?
To be honest, I don't know. I think it was probably my dad being, patient and persistent. Thinking, this is just a phase in his life, and he probably understood too that this probably had come from that. Me falling in the pool, and I guess by the age of 8 and 9, something just clicked, and you could almost not pull me out of the water,
So what was the activity that brought you back into the water? Was it surfing or swimming, or do you remember?
I think it was a range of things. Dad would take me out on his board and pushed me onto a few waves, and I really enjoyed that. And then once I started getting a little bit older, I wanted to go surfing with my brothers and my next door neighbor and a couple of friends. And mum and dad were big on, look, you were petrified of the water. Let's get you into some, surf awareness or swimming training.
Like nippers or?
Yeah, not quite nippers, because I didn't start nippers till I was a bit older. But, we dabbled in a little bit of nippers. I just, kind of didn't really like it. And, so I started swimming and then ended up getting kind of falling in love with that, because I'm such a competitive, got such a competitive nature. I started going to swimming training. And then that started like a couple of afternoons a week through school. And then mum, she got approached by the swimming coach and said, look, we're going to put Kendrick to the next level. And my brothers and I were all in the same kind of boat too. And they were like, we were so pumped. We're like, oh, sweet. That means we get to go swimming training when it's dark and like early morning. And dad kind of rolled his eyes like, oh, here we go. It's going to be a long stint.
Yeah, he knows all the work and all the driving he has to do, eh?
Yeah. So I guess, I started swimming training and just I absolutely loved it. I just loved racing people.
Were you talented in the beginning?
I guess, I don't know. Some would say I was. I'd say I worked very hard with a bit of talent as well. I wasn't the biggest kid. I wasn't the fastest kid. I just put the work in.
Yeah.
And my swim coaches always sort of, would kind of reassure me that, there are those talented ones. And then, I guess hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, and that stuck with me from from such a young age. And I look back now when I was, competitive pool swimming from the age of, I guess, I probably got into competing in probably like 12, 13, up to kind of the age of like 16, 17.
With indoor pool swimming?
Yeah, indoor pool swimming. And, I went to age nationals and finished, kind of in the top 5, top 6 at age national swimming championships, and, went in to do a bit of open water swimming, and I won the national title of that. And then just the love, I just didn't love it. I loved the competing side, but it was just, there was something about swimming in the pool that I just didn't love. And, I wasn't big. I was a small dude. Every time I stood up on the blocks next to a guy, they were twice the size of me. They were men. Yeah. And, I was a 17-year-old, 16-year-old kid. And I wasn't kind of even coming close to them. They were 10, 15 seconds in front of me. Sure. And I was still swimming, good times. So then a good friend of mine was like, why don't you come and, so rewind a few years, when I was probably 12, 13, a good friend of mine said, come down and try nippers at our surf club. We're looking for some new swimmers. And I was like, sweet.
What club was this?
This was at Coloroy.
Yep.
And I went down there and it was, I absolutely loved it. And I think it was more because I was so strong at swimming, from swimming in the pool, I'd turn up to do a swimming race down at Nippers and absolutely kill it. Yeah. So right then it's a weird one.
Right?
It's motivation, but it's almost a false sense of security too, because you've done all this hard work. You are so much better than these guys. And then I jumped on the paddleboard, and it was the reverse story.
Okay, yeah.
I could barely even paddle a board, even though I surfed. The way they paddled was just so different, and so they would absolutely crush me on the board, but I'd catch them again in the swim. So it's a
I guess that's motivation on both ends, right? Because it's nice when you're winning one part of it because you're the best at swimming, but then it'll motivate you if they beat you in the paddle because you're like, oh, I've got to pick up here.
Yeah, I guess the thing that motivated me the most was, from a young age, I've really been able to identify my weakness, and that was my weakness. I can sit here today and tell you what my weakness is without feeling, weird about it, So that was my weakness straight up. And, so mum and dad were like, would you like us to buy you a paddleboard? You seem to be really loving this. Do you want to take it a little bit further? And I was like, you know what, just let me just use the old boards at the club for now, and until I get to a point where I can make a state final or something, and then I'd love a new board. And I'd wanted to kind of earn it rather than just be handed a nice new shiny board and I could barely paddle it. And it wasn't until I kind of made a state final. Mum and dad, I designed this board. I remember it so clearly because I was kind of dreaming of it. It was just like a dark navy blue board with like flames down from the front, down the sides.
What brand was it?
It was a brand called Cracker, and I'm still on them today.
Yeah.
And since then, it was just like I was hooked. I'd wake up before school. If I wasn't going for a surf with my mate, I'd take my paddleboard over to the beach and just catch waves and just practice kind of little things that I could improve on.
By yourself?
Yeah, all by myself.
Wow.
Dad would come over sometimes and go for a surf, and I'd just be down the beach catching waves and practice, my starts and my finishes. And yeah, I just progressed so quickly because I knew what I had to get better at. My swimming took care of itself because I was already putting in the work, and then the board was I just kept finding different things to get better at and trying different things. And
what are some of the skills you think is required to be good on that paddleboard?
Just time. I think surf skills, like time in the surf. Yeah. There's a lot of coaches now that are really getting caught up with taking their kids to, say, Manly Dam or in the harbour and getting them really fit and fast and this and that. But if you don't kind of instill the skills for these kids at a young age, and they start getting to the older age groups, and they've got the speed, they've got the fitness, but they don't have the skills, they're going to get found out. And so my biggest thing is almost do that in reverse. Anyone can get fast and fit, but you cannot really teach someone surf skills at an older age. So
that's a good point. It's almost easier skill to build the fitness, right? Because you're getting fitter. It's easier to get that work in. But you understand the ocean, that takes forever.
Yeah, and I guess you see a lot of kids now that are growing up surfing, even just going to the beach, body surfing, whatever it might be, spending time in the ocean, reading it, seeing where the rips are, seeing how waves break, just knowing what to do is so powerful.
Yeah.
And as I said, if these kids don't have the skills at the young age, it's very hard to teach them when they're older.
Yeah. If we stick to the Ironmans for now, I believe you had an incredible season last season. Can we start with a brief overview of what the season looks like? When does it kick off, and what are the big events across the season?
Yeah, so last year was a big one. Purely because there was a few other races that were on the calendar that aren't always there. So traditionally the season kicks off with the Coolangatta Gold, and that's a 42K pretty much marathon, I guess, Ironman. You do a 23 kilometer surf ski paddle into a 3 or 4 kilometer run, transition into a 3.5K swim, and then you do like a 100 meter run transition into a 6.5 kilometer board paddle, followed by a 7.5K run to finish, which that there in itself
is soft sand run in the end?
Oh, depending on the tide.
Okay.
Normally it's hard sand.
Yeah.
But that in itself is just absolutely ridiculous. So
what time of year is this?
Oh, we're looking October.
Yep, so spring,
yeah,
maybe summer.
Which being Sydney based makes it very hard to train for that event because it's so cold down here. But as well, the way I did that last year was in a team with Shaw and Partners. We put together, it was like a state of origin, and it was all to raise money for a fellow surf lifesaver who she was surfing up on the Gold Coast. Didn't even fall, just dove off her surfboard after the wave ended, hit her head on the sandbank and broke her neck.
What's her name?
Jess Collins. So her family and friends started a fundraising charity called Sunflowers for Jess. So the boys kind of rallied together and said, look, we'll do a Queensland versus New South Wales team event over the Coolangatta Gold. And I guess the big thing was just to raise money and awareness for Jess, having the kind of the best of the best Ironman hit it out against each other in a team of their origin. And we ended up raising, I guess, just over 30,000.
Wow.
For Jess.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so that kicked off the year. And then after that, the Nutri-Grain Ironman series starts, and that goes from November through to probably February. But in there as well was the world titles. That was down in Adelaide. And that happens only every 2 years. And, so for me, my biggest goal was to, make the Australian lifesaving team, which is extremely hard to make. So that was my focus pretty much the whole preseason was to make the Australian life saving team, go down to we raced in Adelaide, go down there and just give it my absolute all, really.
What are the criteria to make the team?
Well, I guess the World Life Saving Team, it's so hard to make purely because there's two sections. There's a section in the pool where it's like they call that pool life saving or Royal Life Saving, where they do swimming events in the pool, diving under obstacles, carrying mannequins, all kind of like simulations of rescue, but in a pool scenario, right?
Wow.
The swimmers that race, like the Europeans, are absolute guns in that because and New Zealand, they have ex-Olympic swimmers retire and then come back and still race for their country in this sort of stuff. Where Australia has primarily been made up of team of Ironman and Ironwomen that can kind of juggle a few different disciplines, but we've been caught out where we've been nowhere near as fast as them in the pool, and we've come out of the pool section so far behind. So they do a week in the pool, a week in the surf. And you obviously put those points together and the most amount of points wins, right?
I get it, yeah.
So to make the team, you've got to be able to, nowadays, you've got to be able to at least make up a relay spot in the pool, as well as being able to do, your board paddling, your swimming, your ski paddling, everything in the ocean.
Yeah.
So for Australia, we'd picked a really good team, a really young team as well. And I was probably the oldest at 28. Where some of the other teams have got, guys that are 30, 35 kind of thing. And, we went down there. We had a really great first week in the pool. I think we equaled New Zealand on the point score, which was massive for us, like huge. And that was like we'd come out first, New Zealand, Australia. Yeah. So going into the surf, we knew it was kind of game on.
Yeah.
And, they've always picked a really strong team when it comes to that match racing kind of format.
Yeah.
And I guess for me, it was just, I'd done my job in the pool, but now I'd had to kind of do my job in the surf, and that was kind of my domain. And myself,
pressure's on.
Yeah, and myself and another guy that I was paired up with, Matt Bevilacqua, we roomed together, and we just wanted it so bad. And and it was just, we just did the small things right all week. We ate well, we slept well, we warmed up well, and it came race day, and I think as soon as I pull on whether it's a club cap, a state cap, or an Australian cap, like, I don't know, and if it's a team event, in the most like humble way possible, I wouldn't want to race myself purely because I know what I'd do for my team.
Yeah.
And it's all in the I guess fairness of the sport and everything like that, but it's just I'll do everything for my team possible.
Yeah.
And you know what, if I cross the line and I haven't done that, I'd be filthy at myself. And it was just,
and the rivalry with New Zealand must be strong. Yeah?
Oh, it's crazy. It's what, and they're made up of good blokes and good girls, and we're all very.
It's friendly rivalry.
Yeah, it is friendly rivalry, but when it's kind of race time and you're racing for your country and it's game on.
No one wants to lose.
No, and especially me.
So how did you guys go?
Yeah, it was good. So it was, we ended up, it was probably the last, I reckon, 3 events of the day, which is the Ironman, Ironwomen, and then the 2 like Taplin relays, which there's a swimmer, a board paddler, a ski paddler, and a runner involved in that race. And the Ironwoman race, Australia cleaned up with the girls, and the Ironman race, it was myself. I ended up taking the win in that, which was just unbelievable. I was so pumped because there was like 3 races, and they were kind of elimination races. And the first 2, I didn't feel that good, and I was like, I don't know if it's going to happen. And the last race, I kind of just blocked it all out and just went for it, start to finish.
Was it a close race?
Yeah, it was super close.
With who? Do you remember who was
Yeah, it was
close to you?
myself and Corey Taylor. He was representing New Zealand. And
what was the last leg?
The last leg was swim. And that's primarily like, that's always my best leg. So swim last, I thought if I'm going to go in with a lead, I can't see these guys swimming me down. However, it was, it's probably like 25, 30 knot, like onshore wind. And in Adelaide, where we were at Glenelg, there's no waves, but when that wind's up, it was just wind chop. Like, so I probably went into the last swim with maybe a 20 or 30 meter lead.
Yeah.
Dove in, swam around, great. And then I stood up and Corey had body surfed a wind chop down and like kind of bridged the gap, and it was like 5 meters then. And I was just like, oh, you are joking. And
how long is the sprint to the?
and
there would have been some sand running.
Yeah, so it was kind of like, it was an M-shaped format. So we had to do almost 2 swims. So you swim out around the buoy, swim to the beach, run around a flag, and do that again.
Mm-hmm.
So on the way back out, I just put my head down and kind of went for it. And I knew that if he got close to me, I had the speed to actually give one big effort to kind of shake him. Because if it came to a run up the beach, he's lightning quick, so he would have got me. So, it was really close. And then, that swimming, running into that last leg, Shannon Eckstein, he was one of the coaches. He just said, mate, like this, you have to give it everything, because if you don't, we're not going to win, really. And, so I just bit my tongue and just went for it. And, stood up first, looked around. I had a clear
out of the water.
Had a clear 15 meters on him, and just I could enjoy the run up the beach.
Nice.
High five the coaches, cross the line, and I was like that's exactly how, if Australia are going to win this is how we've got to do it.
Yeah.
And
what's the how tired are you on that last swim? Like, are you going flat stick and just getting delirious in the swim, or are you pretty controlled?
Yeah, so you normally are very, I wouldn't say very tired, but at the same time, you're more emotionally, physically, you're so on edge, the adrenaline's pumping,
nervous.
You're starting to fatigue, your body's like feeling lactate, and it's, you are nervous, because at the same time, you're trying to keep your mind on the job. But it's just it's a really funny feeling, because then you can cross the line and be fine within a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're doing a 400 meter freestyle where it's just like you're going absolutely nuts for 400 meters. It's like you've got to pick and choose your time when to go.
Yeah.
So you could be sitting behind someone like cycling and sit on their draft the whole way and just come out wide and just go for it.
Oh, wait. So explain that. So in the swim in the ocean, you sit behind someone and get the drag. It will kind of follow the drag, and then you can get enough pace to push through past them. Okay.
So normally, that's what you'd aim to do. I prefer to get my own clear water, but, if someone's faster than me off the start, I'm happy to sit either on their hip, which creates drag, or right on their feet, which, you'd probably use 20% less, I guess, effort. But at the same time, if an opportunity arises where a wave comes and they're that body length in front and they get down it and you don't, well then
you're in trouble.
Yeah, you're in trouble. So, normally on the way out you would sit behind them or on their hip, and then coming home you'd make your way up the side to give yourself that equal chance of getting a wave they may get.
Is it a lot of kicking and not on purpose?
Punching, yes, lots.
Okay,
yeah. There is.
Any specific stories that you remember where it was bad?
Yeah, there's a few. I guess when I was young, I was swimming a lot more than what I am now. I guess, I was probably 17, 18, and I had, my swim leg was by far my strength, and my board and ski paddling were just, I kind of just did it. I hadn't done the work. I wasn't strong. So I kind of lucked around, and then the swim leg was kind of in the middle leg. And, I just swam around a few guys, and then, I came to the can, and one guy kind of like, we got arms caught up, and then so I was like, oh yeah, I'll kind of stamp my authority, tried to stamp my authority. Next minute I went from being in like third place, I was underwater. So he'd pretty much just like palmed me in the side of the head.
So fully on purpose.
Yeah. Of course, everything's on purpose out there. You say, "Oh, I didn't mean it," but it's on purpose. And purely, it's more frustration. Like, one of the hardest things to do is swim around the cans, and someone puts weight on your feet or your legs, because if you can imagine you're swimming like this and someone puts weight on your legs, you're just going like that. You know what I mean? You end up just
handbrake on.
Yeah, handbrake on. You're not moving anywhere. So it's just like you just thrash. You're kicking. If it gets someone off you, punching, whatever it is, you just want that bit of clear water.
Yeah.
I was coming around the cans. The guy palmed me in the side of the face, and I was like, oh, that didn't feel too good. And anyway, next minute I feel a hand on my back, and I've just gone underwater. I've gone from sitting in third place and I'm back in like 20th. And you go under and you just feel people swimming over the top of you. You think you're going to drown.
Shit.
And you come up and you're just like, oh, man.
And you must come up and be exhausted as well.
You are absolutely knackered. And that's from that very point, I'm just like, as soon as I go around these cans, whether I'm big or small, I've just got to muscle up. And you see there are some younger kids that muscle up a little, very similar situation to me, right? Yeah. I tried to hold my ground with an older guy who's more experienced, knows how to race, just did a couple of things which, they weren't illegal. They were all in the, love of it and fairness of the sport. Yeah. And I just ended up, on the wrong end of it.
Yeah. Does it ever come to a clash back in on the beach?
No, some people do, only because they don't get the result they wanted. Whatever happens it's like footy, you know. What happens on the field stays on the field. Same with the water. Unless you do something that's just so out of nature of the sport, if you're paddling around the can and you pull someone's board strap back, or you, I don't know. There's not many, I guess, or you miss a turning marker and you cheat or something like that.
Yeah,
there's not many things that do come back to the shore.
Are there any?
It's more just a heat of a moment kind of thing, If something happens to someone like that, they'll come in and say, and within 5 minutes they've cooled down. But other than that, it's just a heat of the moment.
Yeah. With that swim though, I believe when they had the ocean swimming in the Olympics, there are boats that follow them, and they give out, I might get this wrong, but they give out cards, and then eventually if you do enough mistakes, you can get a red card and you're out of the race. Do you guys have anything like that now?
No.
No one's really watching?
No. Yeah. Well, we do have like jet skis and the, I guess the IRB at the boats out the back, making sure that people, go around the course right. They don't, miss cans, or, they're not doing anything which is a bit ridiculous. But other than that, everything's, filmed by drone or cameras from the beach. So it's like you are going to see, or GoPros on craft, you are going to see if someone does do something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess it's, I'll push the boundary, but I'll never step that mark.
Yeah. That's sports,
that makes
though.
sense. Yeah. And you know what? I think the ones that don't push that boundary, are the ones that don't, will never really see their full potential.
Yeah.
So
I agree. What's the biggest surf you've done this event in?
Biggest surf. So there's probably 3 occasions. There was one on the Gold Coast when I was 19 years old. That was probably the Gold Coast is just different because it's just lots of wind chop. There's swell. There's current. Beaches. There's just it's just big open beaches where nothing there to protect you whatsoever. It's just open to the elements. And that was probably I was only 18 or 19, and it was probably like I'd have to say it was probably 8 foot maybe. That was 8 foot, and that's 8 foot doesn't sound too big, but when you're on the Gold Coast and there's a double break, so there's you go off the beach, there's like a bit of a shore break, and then there's a deep gutter, and out the back there's a shallow sandbank again. And when it's 8 foot standing up on a bank that might be a foot deep, that's scary.
And when you're on
when you're paddling a
big board,
when you're paddling an 18-foot surf ski and you've got to either get under that or try and catch it, or you're just stuck in the wrong spot, that's when it gets scary.
Wait, how do you get under an 8-foot wave with a ski?
So normally you'd try and, if the wave would break, you'd try and punch over it. If you're just under the lip, you've got to get off, and pretty much you grab one of the foot straps where your feet go under and just roll. So you got to paddle in one hand, surf ski in the other hand. You just jump off, grab your paddle, and just try and get through it as best you can.
That seems extremely dangerous.
Yeah, it is. But in saying that, it's probably the only way to go, and so that was one example. The other two were, one was down at Portsea in Victoria. That was bigger. That was a different scenario. That was probably I reckon 10 foot plus, and that was deep, rocky bottom, cold water. But when it's that big and you're trying to dive down under a wave to get, out of the chaos. Normally you can reach the bottom. Portsea you can't. It's just deep. Like it's very deep. It's cold. It's dark. So you can imagine a big waves coming in front of you. You've dove down under it. You can't see anything. It's freezing, and you come up, and then there's another one on your head there again. So yeah, there's places like that. And then we raced at Smith's Beach at Margaret River, which was the day we got there was beautiful. It was just sunny. It was, it was like, like Collins Flat or somewhere like Manly there, just Manly Corner on a really nice day.
Wow.
And then come race day, the clouds started rolling in and swell jacked up. That was probably about, 6 to 8 foot again, but just stormy. Margaret River, just notorious for big grey sharks. That there was just, so there are a few scary,
sketchy moments,
locations,
Have you ever broken any of those big boards out there?
Yeah.
Surf?
Broken plenty of boards, plenty of skis. I'm lucky enough to have very good partnerships and friendships with my sponsors. Reese, who builds my surf skis, he's, I think, the one we're building now I think will be my 18th surf skis made for me.
Wow. They're not cheap either, are they?
No, not at all. And, so he does a very good job in making skis and looking after me and making sure I've got the best equipment that's in the best possible condition.
Yeah.
And I guess too, like I'm very thankful for that. So I really look after my gear well, and it's the same with my paddle boards. They're not cheap, and for me, I've never had anything easy come to me. So when someone turns around and says, "Look, we want to look after you, and you don't have to pay for your gear," and I'm like, "What do you mean I have to pay for it? Like, you give it to me for free?"
That's
and
awesome,
they're like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Okay, this doesn't make sense, but okay." So I really try and show. I've still got a paddleboard that I won the Australian Ironman on last year, and that's a 10-year-old board.
Yeah.
And I said to them, look, can we just put some new handles on it? Because the handles started to deteriorate after about 6 years, which is
completely.
It's just unheard of having a board for that long these days,
Yeah.
10-year-old board, and I won on it.
Must have won a few things on that board then.
It has. That won all my junior Ironmans. It won my Australian Ironman. And the funny thing is they were all based on Scarborough Beach.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that board has never lost an Ironman race at Scarborough Beach. There you go.
You shouldn't tell all that.
I should hang it up, shouldn't I?
That should be a bit of a secret for you. You
should
tell
put it
all
in
your
Manly
competitors.
Surf Club Museum.
Yeah.
Screw it to the wall.
Nice. Also last year you did the Molokai to Oahu.
So that was
paddleboard?
Molokai. The year I did it in a team last year.
Yeah.
And then Molokai, was the year prior to that. That was I'd never done that race before.
That was your first time.
That was the first time I did it. I did it on the 12-foot prone stock category. So there's two categories. There's the unlimited category, which is an 18-foot board, and then there's the stock category, which is the 12-foot prone board. And I'd never done it before. And
so that was your first time paddling that area?
First time paddling that length, that in Hawaii, first time for everything.
What was it like?
It was amazing. The training for it was grueling. I was lucky I had a really good friend of mine, Brad Gall, who took me under his wing. He'd done the race half a dozen times before. And I just said, look, man, I want to do this. I want your guidance. I want to train with you. I'll do everything that you do. Yeah. And so we started swimming training. We were board training. We were doing gym. The longest paddle I'd done before Molokai, my training sessions were probably 6 kilometers.
Here in Sydney?
Yeah, that was just normally for the clubby season, I would do, a board session would be 6 Ks. That'd be endurance, speed, everything. Where I stepped up to our long distance paddles with Brad were probably anywhere from 20 to 30 Ks.
And where would you go?
Oh, we'd start in Pittwater and go from, say, Bayview, hug each bay all the way out to like Line Island and back. And that'd take about 3 hours, and that'd be anywhere from 20K to 35K. And then our sprint sessions we'd sometimes do in the ocean, and our sprint sessions were 15K.
Yeah.
So and that was from, say, Collaroy up to Newport and back.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was through winter. So the training for that is ridiculous. Like it's
windy. A lot
not
of
really
times?
westerly winds. You
Oh,
know,
yeah,
so like
offshore,
in winter here we get westerly winds and they're just not enjoyable. They're
Crisp and
cold. The only good thing about a westerly wind is being down the snow.
Yeah.
Is but yeah, getting up in the morning, going paddling. You know, you got a few layers of thermal on. Yeah, I guess the best part of it is going for a coffee afterwards.
Yeah, that's right. It tastes really nice after you've been out in the water. So when you paddled over in Molokai, does it feel different in that ocean, the water and everything?
100% different. It's the way I view it is you get the workload done to do that race here in Australia, in the flat water, in the cold, swimming, whatever you want to do. As soon as you get to Hawaii, whether it's a week before or 3 weeks before, that's purely to either get used to the weather or the conditions over there.
Because that'll be completely different, right? Summer and warm?
It's hot. The water's warm. The wind's up. You pretty much just want to get used to surfing the bumps, the wind chop. Really just get there and just unwind, have a good time and start getting your head ready for the race, start picking a few different lines. For myself, I got there 3 weeks early purely because I didn't want to, if I got there the week of and I had an issue with my craft, because what normally happens is because it's so hot when you fly your boards over there, they unload the plane, they leave them on kind of like the tarmac area. And my board actually delaminated. So the bottom of it, you know, the fiberglass came away from the foam.
That's not. Is that ruined then, or
should have been?
Yeah.
But I was lucky enough to find a good, I guess, repairer that cut that all back and repaired it for me. It took him 3 weeks. So I was lucky enough for Cracker, my sponsorship, my board sponsor, to send me over a spare board to train on. And then once that board got fixed, I sent that over to Molokai and I raced on the damaged board that had been fixed.
Yeah.
But it was just, if that was the week before, I'd be without a board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's those things, same as James talked about, just the logistics of racing that over there is
it's just,
almost the hardest part.
Logistics.
Yeah.
Don't even worry about the race. Logistically, that race is an absolute nightmare.
Yeah. But you've signed up again, haven't you?
Yeah, so this year, I leave this afternoon, but I'll be doing it with Shaw and Partners race team. And they will, we're doing it as a team, which is really cool. You can do it as an individual or you can do it as in a relay.
Yeah.
And I'm paired up with a guy, Peter Foster, who Peter went to the 1988 Olympics in the K2, I think it was 1000. I think he finished second actually. But so him and I are paired up. And we'll be racing against like Matt Poole. He's a fellow Ironman. Shannon Eckstein. And Shannon Eckstein's actually paired up with the CEO of Shaw and Partners, Earl Evans. So yeah, we're all flying over as a group.
Nice.
So there's a bunch of guys doing it solo. There's a bunch of us doing it as a team. We all stay together. We all train together. We'll fly to Molokai together and just really have a really good time.
Yeah.
And I guess push each other in the race too. We've all been training and ready to go. So I think
who's the favourite going in?
I'd have to say my team, purely because I got an Olympian on my side.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think there'll be a few little friendly bets on the side.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're just going to have a really good time. And just, I guess, race hard and just enjoy it.
Yeah. It sounds like you guys are going to have a blast. Through your training career so far, have you had any particular mentors that stood out, and have you learned any? What lessons have you learned from them?
I guess there's been a few very different, I guess, mentors. One of them would have been one of my first swim coaches. He always taught me just, the biggest thing was not to take the easy option. There's two options to take. There's the easy option and the, I guess, not the hard option, but get the work done. And that was one thing that I've always remembered is just never take the easy option, right? Because it'll get you a quick win. It's like grabbing that low hanging fruit. It's long term. It won't set you up. That was one of them. And then I went up to I did a 3.5 year stint on the Sunshine Coast, training up there with an amazing bunch of athletes. And and we were all trained by Coach Michael King, and he just knew how to get the best out of everyone, and he knew athletes that more than kind of we knew ourselves, in a way that he knew what we could deliver and back up from. And he read each athlete individually. And I guess through him, I learned how to get the work done and like what actually is getting work done. The workload that we used to do at such a high level was just phenomenal. Like there would be no athletes. I could easily put my hand up and say there's no athletes in our sport that used to do the work that we used to do day in, day out for the amount of time and put up the times, the stuff that we were doing. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. Do you mean the amount of hours you put in the week training?
Yes and no. Just the quality.
Yeah.
Like the quality, the hours. Like one of the running sessions, that stands out so much is it was myself, Josh Minogue, Ali Day, Matt Poole, who else was it? Alex Tibbetts, Jack Hansen. There was this running set we do every Monday night through winter, right? And it was 6 1,000 1 kilometer efforts.
On sand or
on the road?
On the road.
On the road. And
how much break in between?
Well, the way we do it is 6 1Ks, and I guess in the off season, we'd start on 6 1Ks on the 6 minutes, and then we'd go 5:30, 5 minutes, 4:30, 4 minutes. And at one point we did 6 1Ks on the 4 minutes, and the boys were averaging around like, this is ridiculous, but Alex Tibbetts was averaging, he was the quickest. He was probably going under 3 minutes for all of them. Myself, Ali Day, Josh, Minogue, Pooley, we were all sitting around the 3:05 to 3:03 mark.
You guys are flying.
And that there is just like, I look back through my log. So like when I was up there for 3 years, I kept a log of like every session I did, right? And I was just looking at those run times, and I was getting nervous looking at them, because that wasn't just wake up and here's a 6K run session. Like, it was a crazy amount of swimming in the morning, and then we'd go home and chill out and do whatever you do throughout the day. Then Monday afternoon was traditionally a long ski session, hard as well. And then it'd be like, all right, put your shoes on. We're going to the track to do our session here. And
also, when you did the 1Ks, you did a 400 meter track?
No. So we'd have a track mapped out on the road, which was 500 down, 500 back. And it was just, mate, it was just like you'd finish ski training and everyone would be so nervous, and just like you'd stand there and we'd just be like, not talking and just knowing that we're about to absolutely kill ourselves for the next, 35 minutes.
Yeah.
And I just remember just the boys crossing the line, pulling their shoes off because our feet were burning so much, and just high-fiving, but at the same time just like so thankful but so annoyed that we had to do that. But come race day, it was like you knew that no one else on that line was doing that.
It's the confidence that comes with that. Eh?
And back then, some of the races had a 500 to 800 meter transition as well. So we knew we'd get off our craft. We'd run past everyone.
When you had those massive training sessions, did you ever feel overwhelmed at any point?
No, not overwhelmed. I think that's where, when you have a good coach who really understands what's going on inside your head as well, can fire out these little things to each individual that keeps you in that moment.
So you never felt like, I can't do this. I can't do another K.
I never felt that I couldn't. My head was telling me stop, throw in the towel, but my body would just keep going. And same with like mentally, like through that just, it made me so mentally tough. Like some of the swimming sessions that we did, I remember one session was, even pool swimmers that appreciate this, and we're Ironman, and one of the swim sessions was 2200s on the 220. Like that's 4K on 110 cycle. Yeah. And you just finish and you just don't even want to look at the coach or talk to him, and you're just so off it that you had to do that. Yeah. But deep down, like, you need that work. Like nothing comes easy. Yeah. Especially in this sport. And yeah, just stuff like that. Like those 3 years, like training with Michael, I realized what hard work is. And at that age, I was 21, from the age of 21 to 24, and I absolutely bashed my body, you know, and in a good way. And I sit down with the boys now and we chat about it. And we're like, I just can't believe some of those sessions we did now.
Yeah.
Like, it was ridiculous. And there's no doubt why we got the results we did.
Yeah. You're also in that prime age where you can do it, right?
Mm.
I don't think you can do that forever, but when you're 21, it's...
Oh, you just back up like that.
Yeah,
You go have a coffee and you got energy again, you know?
Yeah, that's right.
So, you know, Michael was a great mentor of mine. And then there's been a lot of different mentors, whether it's in sport, out of sport. Like I wouldn't be able to pick a name out of a hat, but there's just so many people that have helped me at so many different facets of my career. And I guess a really big, I'd say like a mentor would be my girlfriend, Holly. You know, I've been with her for nearly 10 years and she stuck by me from, you know, the early days when I decided to make the trip to Queensland for 3 years. And that was super tough. That was really tough for her and myself
She stayed back in Sydney.
Yes, she was doing uni, finishing her law degree, and she was finishing a business degree, then started a law degree, and then you know, at the same time, she was so interested in how I was going, and vice versa. And I was trying to either fly her up every second weekend or me come home, and that went on for 3 years.
Yeah, that's not easy.
You know,
long distance relationships.
And like in saying that, I was only young. But in saying that, she really believed in me, and every race that I went to, she had, you know, wouldn't tell me, but she got all this merchandise done up with like KJL or KL on it or whatever. And, you know, there was probably her family, her friends, my family. There was probably like 30 of them wearing this stuff, and I had no idea. She had like big banners printed, and all these guys started this Facebook group where like she'd get all these guys wearing stuff that supporting me and just stuff like that. It just, you know, it means so much. And, you know, even when moving back home, and, you know, she just helps me make decisions, and she's such a go-getter. So like for me, it's like, because I'm doing so much stuff on a regular basis, like training, or if I'm not training, now I'm going to work or holidays or travel. And sometimes I just want no time and just sit down and just do nothing, where she'll be like, no, let's go. Come on. You can sit down, like, you know, when you're old. And at the time I'm like, oh, whatever. Okay, I'll come with you, but I'd never regret it.
Yeah.
You know? So I guess
that's awesome.
Yeah. So that for me is just, you know, I set a goal at the start of this year was to be a lot more open-minded about everything, you know? So decisions I make, travel, wherever it is, food we eat, anything, just be more relaxed and open-minded, because athletes tend to be very kind of, you know, highly strung.
Yeah. You get set in your routine, I think, a lot as an athlete.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And just being, I love routine, but at the same time, I've got to be comfortable with not having routine. And that's where she's really good.
That kind of leads me into a question. Another question I wanted to ask is, do you have a current habit now that you would like to change, or that you're trying to change?
Yes. I guess I've been trying to work on it for a few years. Is just knowing when I'm wrong and admitting when I'm wrong and apologizing when I'm wrong.
That's good.
And I'm out of line. You know, doing that with my girlfriend, with Holly, it's been really, really good. Because there's been times where I'm definitely out of line, or I've said something wrong, or said something just because the heat of the moment, and I sit back and go, like, actually reflect on it and go, why did I do that? You know, or being in a situation where, you know, you're having a conversation with someone, your phone goes off and you pick your phone up. You know, like things like that, where people just do that subconsciously. You know, they just do it because it's a habit now. But until you can identify that being, that's, you know, I wouldn't say it's not a bad thing, but it's like, it's disrespectful, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
So just things like that, knowing when you're wrong and apologizing for it, owning up to it, just being open and, just being more honest, and like not more honest, but just being more open.
It's when you say it, right, it sounds like an easier thing to do, but it's not. It's difficult to do again and again. I think that's great.
Well, I'm a very internal kind of guy. So, you know, we're getting pretty deep now, but like I'm a type of person where I can bottle things up like easy, and it doesn't affect me. But I think, Holly's very good at getting that out of me. Where if I had a bad day at work, or something went wrong on a job or something like that, I'd just keep that internally, and rather than coming home and expressing it and getting it out on the table and making myself feel better, I can just keep it in.
Yeah.
Where for me, I'm really trying hard to talk about that and get it out, and ask for advice and stuff like that. Ask, and that's in this day and age is very hard. Like mental health in men, especially, is super hard because blokes don't want to talk.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of these, talks and stuff happening. Like Gus Walland, I think a few others did one up at Avalon recently, and just the stat of men the age of 30 to 55 that don't have mates that they confide in. It is huge.
Yeah.
And
they don't realize how helpful it could be, right?
Oh,
yeah.
and blokes think sometimes that they're just too masculine to talk about it. And it's not. I don't feel like that, but I just don't. Maybe I do subconsciously don't. Maybe I do feel like that, but I just don't talk about it. But I think it's just so important to make the effort to have people around you, good people around you that actually care about you. And if shit isn't going right, they'll be there to help you.
And they know about it. Because if you don't say anything, no one knows anything. Right?
Yeah. And it's not until something happens that people start, these are the signs to look out for. Where if you educate yourself early, and it's super powerful.
Yeah, it's. I'm from Norway, and Scandinavia in general is very much like that. No one really talks unless they get really drunk. It's it's crazy. And males even worse than females over there. It's when I grew up, there was no one really talking about any of their feelings or whatever, or what's going on, what's going good, or what's going bad. So, yeah. I wanted to ask you about your something not related to sport, I guess, but you've started up a bit of a company, I believe, with your brother called Louis Media. And you want to get into, or not want to get, you already gotten into it, but you were starting to shoot a bit of video and photos and stuff. Is that something that you're trying to kick off?
Yeah, it's it happened so organically. It was one of those things where I guess it started when if I go right back to the start, it was my brother's 21st, and we went to the Philippines. A place called Cloud9, and
famous surf break.
I
think is it?
Yeah, there was a surf break there, which is pretty cool. But I took my GoPro, and when we weren't surfing or chilling out, the sunsets there were amazing, sunrise and sunset. So I'd take my GoPro, set it up, and just take a photo. And then I'd take a bunch of different photos. I'd come back, edit them on my computer, and start looking back at them and saying, these are bloody awesome. And anyway, I did that for a bunch of different sunrise, sunset shots around the the villa we were staying in. And at the end, the people that owned the villa, I gave them a USB with some images on them and said, do what you want with it. I didn't know if they liked them or not, which I didn't really care. But and then fast forward like a couple of years, we came home and I got back into my training, and then my brother went out and bought a camera and said, I want to get into photography. And I said, well, let's come down to training and shoot some stuff at training and start getting, what better way to practice? Like, I don't really care if it's a good photo or not, just come down and shoot it. And then he bought a water housing and started doing some shooting like that. And then it got to a point where, I had some great content for my social media, and and then it was, it just kind of snowballed from there. Like, people reached out and said, hey, I really like your shots. Hey, can you, we'll give you a car for the weekend. Can you get some photos of it? And I'm like, all right, no problems.
Oh, wow.
So whether he would take it or I would take it, the photos, either or, wouldn't really matter. And then, fast forward again a few more years, we sat down and said, well, let's maybe look at starting a business. So I guess since then, things have kind of changed a little bit, purely because he's a freelance photographer and I'm busy traveling with my racing and other work that I do, where he said, look, I want to obviously stay on a freelance model. And I said, perfect. This freelance model actually works better for me anyway. So now pretty much the way it works is, I'll liaise with a client, I'll land a job, and then I'll have a, X amount of freelance photographers, videographers kind of on the go, ready to go. And also, so there's that side of it, and we also do another side which is more, I guess, the paid ads, paid social media ads,
running social media campaigns.
Social media campaigns, stuff like that as well.
Awesome.
Where you can have all this amazing content, and you see now, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever it might be, whatever the platform is, it's so saturated with amazing content, and it's extremely hard to get good engagement now. So I thought, well, we can have all this amazing engagement. Let's shoot it, and let's try and implement it as well as to some social media campaigns for brands that are looking for that as well. So there's kind of, I guess there's two pillars that kind of join one.
Yeah,
really.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Is there a particular niche that you're trying to focus on? Sports, for instance, or fashion, or what are you interested in?
And this is why I really like the freelance model too, is because each photographer, videographer loves different things. So, some might love the sport, some love fashion, some love travel, some love, shooting corporate videos, or even, kind of like real estate kind of shots, you know? So I guess it's endless, really.
Yeah. There's so many opportunities.
Whatever you need done, let's chat, and we kind of go from there. So
what would be your dream shoot?
I think
difficult question.
It is a difficult one, but I think at the end of the day, they're all amazing. You meet so many different, diverse people on each shoot. For example, one shoot we shot these. It was a brand of boat, a boat brand called Ribco, and they're high end speedboats. The rigid inflatables, and they're based out of Greece, and those boats are amazing. And our shoot, we were on the water, driving fast, doing some good bank turns, that was an amazing shoot.
Yeah. Where was that?
I was on the harbour and up near Roseville Bridge.
Okay.
So we took it out for 2 days, the boats, and that on its own was amazing.
Yeah.
And then, we've shot, a good friend of mine, Sean Burley, he's a fashion kind of travel lifestyle enthusiast. And we went over to Bali and shot a bunch of different travel content over there, like kind of, I guess, place to stay, place to eat, place to hang out when you're in Bali, you know, on a budget. So we went and shot that. That was awesome.
Nice to mix and match work and holiday when you go over there, right?
Yeah. And for example, now we're currently in the middle of cutting up the Shaw and Partners corporate video, and stuff like that is amazing. They're really, really big on ocean paddling and love it, and they support that, and that's kind of part of their core, and so parts of it are shooting that on the harbour, the harbour bridge and sunset, and just amazing. And then the other part was in the office, and when you're in the office, you actually get a respect on a different kind of perspective as well, on what they do day to day. They're all about financial services and the stocks and the market and everything like that, and that there is a foreign language to me. Yeah, but I'm so intrigued as to how it works. Yeah. So. It's really hard to pinpoint.
I think you have kind of done it though, because one of the beautiful parts about doing that kind of creative work is you get to see so many different things. You learn about different industries and different people. That's one of my favorite things with it.
Yeah, sure. It's the people you meet, the places you go. Whether it's an office building in Sydney, or whether it's you out on the harbour, or you're over in Bali or Hawaii or whatever it might be. To be honest, for me, that's kind of living the dream, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you going to start a vlog?
Vlog? I don't know.
You thought about it?
I've thought about starting a podcast, but I wouldn't know who to get on there. I'd start with you. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. There's so many different, people, I guess, that I'd love to get on. I'd love to get on, guys like Ben, like hear the story of True Protein. It's probably on your podcast already.
We've actually done it, but I kept it in-house for the staff.
Like things like that. there's a good friend of mine that also do a bit of work for, John Keats. He's a founder of Vive Active, and he's come from an amazing background in the car industry to come into the I guess the fitness, lifestyle, wellness kind of game as well. And he's got a successful brand going there. I know Justin Hemies, and it'd be great to have him on and talk about his work. And
mate, I thought you said you didn't know who to get on, and now you've already listed 3 amazing guests.
I guess there's some amazing guests, but it's like, what do you talk about?
You can choose anything. That's the beauty of the long format, is that you don't have to go in with a preset plan and be like, all right, we got to cover this in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
The way I describe it often is that it's a conversation, and let's say if we use the example of a boat sailing through the ocean, the conversation is the boat, and in some ways I'm the captain, but the guest is the swell and the wind and everything else.
Yep.
So I try and steer it left and right or whatever, but ultimately the guest decides.
Yeah.
Because I can't steer against the current or the wind or the swell. Does that make sense?
True, yeah.
So you let the guest lead a little bit. Yeah.
I just think there's so many interesting things out there now. There's athletes are super interesting. Just even people that run their own business. I'm good friends with Earl Evans, the CEO of Shore and Partners, who loves ocean paddling, and at the same time, loves his Manly Seagulls. He's, loves his work, what he does, and just surrounding yourself with people like that, and just taking little gems and, sharing as to what these people have to offer is pretty cool.
Absolutely. We live in an amazing time. I don't think anyone's lived in a better time than us.
Oh, it's absolutely ridiculous. Like, I follow Gary V on Instagram, and he's, his biggest thing is like, in this day and age, it is so easy to make $100,000.
Yes.
He goes, you could make $100,000 of buying a pair of shoes on the internet and selling them on eBay.
Yeah. Kids have done that.
Just like that. 100 grand,
Yeah.
And if you want it, go get it. And that's the biggest thing. Like, that's what I love about what I do now, is I get to meet so many different people and offer them an amazing service. And I guess now we are, like, I guess I'm lucky to be in the industry I'm in, because social media, if you don't have it, you don't really have a presence. Unless you're a very well established brand, but even still, like, they've got to jump on to have a presence online.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I agree. Kendrick, thank you so much for coming on. That was an awesome chat. Can you let the listeners and viewers know what you've got coming up, and where can they find out more about you?
So there's a bit coming up. I guess my season kicks off in, I fly to Hawaii today, which is exciting, this afternoon. So yeah, you can pretty much follow my journey across my Instagram or Facebook page. Instagram is @kendrick.louis. Facebook is Kendrick Louis. There's just so much coming up. My girlfriend's launched her new sandals brand, and
what's that called?
It's called Holly and Hyde. They're leather. She designs them all, and they're amazing. They're super cool. So yeah, we're super busy with that. Super busy with work, training, season rolling up. But yeah, you'll be able to follow all of that across my social channels. And thanks heaps for having me on board.
Awesome. That was great.